Bula binaka, everyone. Natangu Jekope Ramala Maiono, urungone ni dikombi matuata, mai na sana bokuturanga matuata. So I'll introduce myself in Fijian. Bula binaka, everyone. My name is Jekope Ramala Maiono, and I'm from a very small island in Fiji. And part of my presentation will involve around this small piece of land in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And I'm really glad that you go for first before me. Then you give me a really good platform to give you guys some understanding of why I study what I study in terms of my people mitigate climate change, all these changing weather patterns, and be able to live and use their land sustainably. So my topic is I'm looking at 50 years of independence, understanding indigenous perception on sustainable land development in Fiji. So before I proceed, I would like to acknowledge the Pacific Island Scholarship for allowing me to do this research, and also my three supervisors, Dr. Pairau, Dr. Makalingalinga, and Dr. Telesia for their continued support and guidance. And yeah, let's jump into it. So what's the problem? What's the biggest problem that we have? Land ownership is a very sensitive issue amongst the iTaukei. So when I say iTaukei, I'm referring to the indigenous Fijian. And land is limited and therefore very valuable resources. So land has always been a very sensitive issue amongst indigenous Fijian. Politicians over the years have used land development as a propaganda to gain voters. So I wanted to understand why land is such a very sensitive issue. Is it only because of their sense of identity? Is it just because of the sense of ownership, the attachment to the land? This is my ancestors own this part of the world and I have to have a say in this? Or is it because of money, royalty, leases, whatever they gain from the land? Or is it really to do with their livelihood? So this is my island. This is where I come from. And this is at the highest peak, as you can see both sides of the sea, and you can actually see the end of the island. So it's not a very big island with only 10 kilometers long and 2 kilometers wide. So you can see why land is a very sensitive issue amongst us indigenous Fijian. And you can see this side of the island, soil erosion. This side of the island just all went down in the last 10 years. Part of this side of the island has gone down, suspectedly due to climate change, something that we can't control. And so for that reason, there is a need to manage land in a Fijian system. So with lack of clear legal framework on how land is owned and shared and transferred in Fiji, that has caused a lot of problems among indigenous Fijian. So land is conventionally understood in the development discourse as a commodity and economic assets. Certainly people of the Pacific view land in a more complex, holistic manner. According to the word, the land is translated as vanua in Fiji, whanua in Tonga, enua in the Cook Island, whenua in New Zealand. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Embrace land as people and their connection. These terms are all encompassing and include cultural, social, and spiritual element, along with people's value, belief systems, and history, all interlinked with the natural and supernatural world. So it's more complex rather than just looking at this. This is a piece of place I can develop and maybe build some house or do some development here to get some economical gain. So also land's ability to provide sustenance is central to why it is valued and respected, and is therefore essential to any consideration of its economical potential. Fundamentally, people of the Pacific have an intense attachment to the land. This is particularly significant in most of the Pacific Island, as 80% of their land is customary owned. A good example is Fiji, where my research will be focusing on. So I'm just only 4 months into my PhD program, and so I'm really glad that I've been asked to come and share a little bit about what I have been doing so far. I haven't done a lot, and this is what I'm intending to do. And really to be in this space, to learn about what other people are doing about climate change and how it is affecting my people is really a good way for me to understand what is happening around climate change. And also us here in Otago, we take this very seriously as well. It's overwhelming to learn that. So one of my primary purposes is to investigate sustainable development from an indigenous perspective. So how they grow their plant, what system they use to sustain their livelihood. Most of these land with weather pattern changing and rising sea level. So does this indigenous knowledge still applicable? Do they need to change, or is it a better way for outsiders to actually learn this indigenous knowledge? Is it a better way for them to mitigate climate change? Do we still use your own system of planting yams or planting cassava rather than using the new method that all these big donors and big organizations trying to introduce to the indigenous Fijian in their respective environment? So that is one of the things that I'm going to try to investigate. Other thing that I'm going to looking at is understanding what government is doing and how it is shaping land use in Fiji. Most of this government policy is influenced by big donors and big organizations that do have a say in how money is spent on this island, on these cities and towns where they are putting in all this money, and they want to have a say on how it is being used and utilized. So that's my next primary purpose. So I talked about Fiji. That hurricane that was mentioned before just actually went past Fiji, and so that's me. That's where I come from. Very far from the rest of the Fiji Island group. It's very remote and isolated. And there is 333 islands in Fiji, over 18,370 square kilometers of land, 100 of which are uninhabited. So this is Vanuatu, and this is Viti. So recently, all these small islands here is all in danger of rising sea level. And like me in my village and all these islands, all these people here, there is a big shift of people start moving into the main cities as Suva, in Lambasa, in Vanuatu, in Sabu, on the Singatoka, Nandi. And one of the reasons they're doing that is because they are not able to sustain their livelihood in the village. So I wanted to understand as well, what are all these social arrangement? How are they finding land in the mainland? So these people from this side here, apparently they have a piece of land somewhere in the middle there. My people up there, we have a piece of land in the middle here that was done way back in the days. How are they sustain their livelihood by social arrangement? Suva is the capital city, with the ethnic being iTaukei, that's indigenous Fijian, and Indo-Fijian make up the 27% of Fiji's population, which mainly speaking English and Fijian and Christianity. And we just under 1 million at the moment with the population. So it expected by 2040, Fiji will reach 1 million. And you can see its land is going to become an issue for us. So this is how Fiji is it's administratively managed. So that's the Northern Division. And in Lambasa, the center there, and you have the Eastern Division, Central Division. And Rotuma is a small island on its own, right on top of Fiji. So Fiji is divided administratively in 4 divisions, which further subdivided into 14 provinces. And this province or this division looks after all the administrative in regards to land and development in all these different centers. So I'm just gonna quickly run through my method. So I will do a lot of research, looking at histories, and this is my history. That's my grandfather there. That's a chief, and that's my dad. That's my my house who I grew up with, and it's a bure. And between my grandfather and my chief, they decided to sell all the timber in my village. And what they did was they built all these houses for the people in the village. So what it does, this house is strong enough to sustain hurricanes. So I didn't realize that when I was there in 2018, we have a hurricane. When I grew up, we used to live in this kind of bure. I remember we used to, every time it's hurricane season, we used to run in the cave. So this time, we don't need to run into a cave. Everybody stay in their own house because it was strong enough to sustain the hurricane. So I'm looking in these kind of stories on how people in different areas use their land. And of course, field work. If COVID allow me to go back to Fiji, this is where I want to be, in this space, to understand and talk to the people and listen to them and get the ideas on how they have been utilizing their land over the 50 years of Fiji's been independent from Great Britain. So how am I? I'm just gonna finish there because my time is up. Any question?